Welcome to Alma Tales Lovers, where disrespect gets exposed and humiliation doesn't get the last word. These are the stories of wives and girlfriends who try to shame their husbands and boyfriends in public, weaponize family and friends, and treat love like a power game, until the calm comeback rewrites everything. If you've ever been embarrassed, talked down to, or made to feel less than by the person who should protect you, this channel is for you. Subscribe and turn on notifications for raw, realistic humiliation stories with quiet receipts, cold consequences, and hard lessons. Because respect isn't optional. Let's get into it. The cruel thing my wife did was laugh while her boss mocked me at a company gala, then rode home beside me like I was an Uber driver, quiet, cold, and disposable. Here's how it happened. I didn't wake up one day humiliated. It came in layers. Little silences, small disrespect, then one public night where she let the whole room treat me like a joke. I'm writing this because I kept trying to act unbothered like a grown man is supposed to. But it got so heavy, I started feeling like my own life didn't belong to me. My name is Marcus Green. I'm from Chicago, the part where you learn to mind your business and keep your head up because everyone's watching for weakness. I moved to Atlanta chasing stability, not flash. I'm a systems guy, networks, security, problem solving. My wife, Aisha, had the bigger personality. She could light up a room without trying. When we first met, she called me steady, said she could finally breathe around me. I believed her. I built a life around that word. We weren't always broken. Our first year in Atlanta was actually sweet in a normal way. Saturday mornings, we'd argue over the best breakfast spot like it was a world championship. She liked this place in Decatur where the biscuits were basically pillows. I joked that the chef was hiding angels in the kitchen. Aisha would laugh, lean into my shoulder, and steal my bacon like she paid for it. That kind of small romance adds up. It made me think we were solid. Even after we had our son, Jordan, we still found ways to be us. I'd wash dishes and sing on purpose, badly, just to make her roll her eyes. Aisha would pretend she hated it, but she'd start harmonizing anyway, because she can't resist a melody. One night, I tried to slow dance with her in the living room while cartoons played in the background. She put her arms around my neck and said, "You're corny." I said, "And you love it." She kissed me like she meant it. Aisha worked hard, and I respected that. She was climbing at this finance company downtown. Shiny building, sharp outfits, the kind of office where people talk in synergy and pipeline like it's a real language. Her boss, Deshaun Langston, was a big deal there. Always smiling, always performing confidence. The first time I met him, he squeezed my hand too long and called me my man in a way that didn't feel friendly. I let slide. People like him feed off reactions. The weirdness started small. Aisha began staying late, quarter close, client dinners, team bonding. Her phone flipped face down more. The way she used to tell me stories, who said what, who annoyed her, changed into vague summaries. If I asked about her day, she'd say, "It was fine," like I was asking for classified information. I told myself not to be that guy. I didn't want to be insecure. I wanted to be supportive. That was my first mistake, confusing silence for strength. Then came the gala invite. Black tie, fancy hotel in Buckhead. Aisha brought it home like it was a trophy. "You have to come," she said. "It's important." I joked that my closet doesn't own black tie anything unless you count my one funeral suit. She laughed and said she'd pick something out. I didn't want to go, but I wanted her to feel backed. Marriage is supposed to be a team, so I said yes. We shopped for a tux like it was a comedy sketch. The clerk asked if I wanted European slim. Aisha looked me up and down and said, "He wants American breathing." I cracked up. We ended up finding something that fit right. In the dressing room mirror, she stood behind me and adjusted my bow tie like she was proud. For a second, I thought we're okay. We're still us. She smiled soft, ran a hand across my chest, and said, "You clean up nice, Mr. Green." I believed in that moment. Too much. Gala night arrived, and we drove downtown with the city lights reflecting off the windshield. Aisha looked stunning. Deep blue dress, hair laid, perfume that always made me think of summer nights. I tried to flirt, told her I might act brand new, and try to steal her away from the corporate wolves. She laughed, squeezed my hand, and said, "Behave." At the hotel entrance, she stepped out first. The valet greeted her like he recognized her. I felt like I was walking into her world on borrowed shoes. Inside was all gloss, jazz trio, candles, people who talk with their hands like every sentence is a presentation. Aisha immediately found coworkers. She introduced me, but it felt quick, like an item on a checklist. This is Marcus. Not my husband, not the man I love. Just Marcus. I shook hands, smiled, kept it light. I even made jokes about my bow tie, trying to escape. People laughed politely. But I noticed something. Deshaun made a straight line toward us like he owned the air. Deshaun greeted Aisha first. Full smile, warm voice, hand on her back, just a second too long. Then he looked at me like I was furniture. "So this your man?" He said to her. "Not me." He laughed, loud, and added, "I thought you'd bring somebody, more executive." A couple people chuckled like they were trained to. I forced a smile because I didn't want to embarrass Aisha. That's the trap. You try not to make a scene, and suddenly you're swallowing disrespect in public. It got worse as the night went on. Deshaun kept tossing comments like darts. "Marcus, you ever been in a room like this before? You good with all them forks? Don't worry, we'll teach you how to network." No pun intended. People laughed harder each time, like the joke improved with repetition. Aisha's face didn't change. She didn't defend me. She didn't even look uncomfortable. She just sipped her drink and smiled, like she was enjoying the show, or at least enjoying being safe from the spotlight. At our table, Deshaun raised his glass and gave a toast that wasn't a toast. "To Aisha," he said, "for having the hunger to be more than average." His eyes flicked to me, and he smirked. Some people get comfortable and hold you back. But Aisha, she's built for bigger. That room clapped. My chest tightened. I waited for Aisha to say something, anything. She leaned forward, laughing softly, and tapped her glass to his. It felt like being erased with applause. I tried to get through dessert without falling apart. In the bathroom, I stared at myself in the mirror and practiced looking normal. I told myself, get her home. Talk later. Don't give him what he wants. When I came back, Deshaun was taking pictures with Aisha, arm around her waist like it belonged there. I stood at the edge of the frame, like a cousin nobody remembers the name of. Aisha didn't pull away. She didn't motion for me to join. She let the camera capture the story Deshaun wanted. On the ride home, I waited for the moment where she'd say, "I'm sorry." I got silence instead. Finally, I said, calm as I could, "That was disrespectful." Aisha sighed like I complained about traffic. "You're too sensitive," she said. "That's just corporate culture." I asked why she didn't stop it. She stared out the window and said, "Because you don't understand what's at stake." Like my dignity was a small price for her ambition. Then she added, "Don't make this harder for me, Marcus." Like I was the problem. At home, she went straight to the guest room. No hug, no check-in, no softness. She said she had an early meeting and shut the door. I lay in our bed, listening to the house settle, feeling like I'd been demoted from husband to inconvenience. Around 3 a.m., I got up and checked on Jordan, asleep with his stuffed bear under his arm. I kissed his forehead and whispered, "I got you." I meant it. But even then, something in me feared I didn't truly know what "I got you" would cost. Over the next weeks, the disrespect turned into a routine. Aisha would come home late, irritated at my questions. If I asked where she'd been, she'd say, "At work," like work was a magic word that erased responsibility. Her mother started making comments too, calling Aisha a woman with options and me a good starter husband. That one hit like a slap. I laughed it off in front of them because that's what you do when you don't want to be painted as angry. Later, alone, it sat in my stomach like a stone. The funniest part, if you can call it funny, was how hard I tried to be better. I started packing Aisha lunches again like we were newlyweds. Little notes, her favorite fruit, a cheesy joke. One said, "You're the CFO of my heart." I cringed writing it. She didn't even smile. She left the lunch on the counter 2 days in a row, untouched, like my affection was clutter. Meanwhile, Deshaun's name lived in her mouth. Deshaun thinks, Deshaun wants. The way she said it sounded like loyalty. I found myself missing the old us, so much it made me stupid. I planned a date night at a quiet place by Piedmont Park. Nothing fancy, just peace. I even got a babysitter. When Aisha arrived, she wore a dress that felt like a compromise. I tried to make her laugh, brought up the time we got lost on our first Atlanta road trip, and ended up in a town where the gas station sold fried pies bigger than my head. She smiled briefly, then her phone buzzed. She glanced at it, stood up, and said, "I have to go." No kiss, no apology, just gone. That night, I finally asked the question I'd been avoiding. "Are you seeing him?" Aisha didn't deny it. She didn't confess with tears either. She looked tired, annoyed tired, and said, "It's complicated." I asked what that meant. She said, "It means I'm not going to be dragged down because your feelings get bruised." Bruised, like I was being dramatic. Then she said the cruelest thing, flat as a receipt. "Maybe you were never enough for the life I want." That sentence rearranged my insides. After that, people I trusted started acting like they'd been briefed. Her cousin stopped inviting me to family stuff. A coworker who used to slap my shoulder and talk sports got weirdly distant. Even Jordan's teacher became polite in a careful way, like she didn't want to get involved. I felt like I was walking through my own life with a sign on my back that said "loser," and I kept showing up, making breakfast, doing bedtime, paying bills, like consistency could earn me respect. The more I tried to hold us together, the more they treated me like I was optional. Then Aisha asked me to come to the office for a meeting with HR. She said it like it was normal. My stomach dropped. In that glass-walled boardroom downtown, there were HR faces that already looked decided. Deshaun sat there too, calm as a pastor. Aisha sat beside him like that was her rightful seat. HR said they'd received concerns that I was harassing Aisha with controlling behavior. I almost laughed. Me controlling? I asked what the evidence was. They gave vague statements. Deshaun watched me like he'd paid for front row tickets. Deshaun stood up and said he wanted to resolve this respectfully. Then he started connecting his laptop to the big screen. He clicked through Windows, and for a second I saw an email subject line that read, "Reimbursement, hotel, client event." Then another, "Private, do not forward." He meant to open a boundaries presentation, but his cursor slipped. A PDF filled the boardroom screen. Bright, crisp, impossible to misunderstand. Paternity test results. My heart stopped like a car engine that just died. The document had names, dates, and a bold line that made the world tilt. Probability of paternity for Marcus Green, 0%. Under it, probability of paternity for Deshaun Langston, 99.98%. I couldn't breathe. My hands went cold. I looked at Aisha, waiting, begging, for her to look ashamed, or at least human. She didn't. She rolled her eyes like the screen was inconvenient. Deshaun's mouth twitched like he was amused. HR didn't look at me anymore. They looked at the liability in front of them. Deshaun tried to shut the laptop, but it was too late. He didn't apologize. He didn't soften. He actually smirked and said, "Don't act shocked, Marcus. You weren't built for her level." Aisha stood up, adjusted her blazer, and said, "I told you not to make this messy. Now we're sorry. Not I hurt you. Just annoyance that the plan got exposed out of order." That was the moment I felt something snap, not into rage, but into clarity. I realized I'd been begging people who didn't respect me to treat me like a person. I left the building without a speech, without yelling, without giving them the satisfaction of my collapse. In the elevator, my legs shook. In my car, I finally cried, quiet, ugly, the kind that makes your throat ache. I sat there staring at traffic, hearing that Gala laughter in my head, seeing Aisha's silence like a replay. Then I wiped my face and did the first private successful thing I'd done in months. I called a lawyer, not to get revenge, to protect what was left of my life and my relationship with the child I'd been raising. The next weeks were brutal. Aisha moved out like she was switching apartments, not detonating a family. She didn't beg, didn't explain, didn't check on me. She still acted like I was the inconvenience. She tried to paint me as unstable in court. Deshaun, meanwhile, kept his posture, still arrogant, still cruel. But corporate buildings don't run on feelings. They run on risk. The power imbalance, the HR lies, the reimbursements, the client event, hotels, legal started pulling threads. And those threads pulled back. Karma hit them in a way that felt real, not movie fake. Deshaun didn't get humbled. He got removed quietly, escorted out with security, laptop bag in hand, because executives don't tolerate a walking lawsuit. Aisha didn't get a dramatic downfall either. She got consequences. Her career momentum stalled hard, then snapped. She wasn't celebrated anymore. She was a problem HR wanted to bury. She didn't feel remorse. She blamed me for ruining everything, even though her choices lit the match. Deshaun never apologized. He just lost leverage. My comeback wasn't public. It wasn't viral. It was private and steady like me. I switched to a remote role with a healthcare network based out of D.C., better pay, calmer culture. I moved into a smaller apartment in Atlanta that felt peaceful instead of haunted. I started running early mornings. I cooked real meals again. I laughed again like real laughter when my cousin visited and roasted my divorced dad's seasoning because I bought 5 different spices and used all of them aggressively. I went to therapy quietly. No speeches, just healing. The moral landed slowly, then all at once. Love without respect becomes a cage you lock from the inside. My romantic scenes didn't disappear. They transformed. Not with Aisha, but with life. With quiet mornings, with honest friendships, with the kind of affection that doesn't require me to shrink. The funniest part is how simple peace feels after chaos. A clean home, a steady paycheck, and a heart that doesn't jump when a phone buzzes. Karma didn't change them. They stayed cold. Karma changed my access to them. And that was enough. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and share this video with your friends. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a powerful story drop.